All right, for our first project, I'm starting with this beautiful oval wood round. It measures 8.5 by 10, 6 inches, and I picked this up from Aunt Bee's attic. I'm going to begin by painting the outer frame with burnt umber by apple barrel, leaving the center open for now. And once that dries, I'm going to go over it with the color Dusk by Waverly, and this is going to add some depth to our piece. And then the center I'm painting with the color Simply White, and that's an upcycled chalk paint. And I got that from Hobby Lobby, and this is going to prepare our surface for some decoupaging here in a second. I'm going to sand this back a little bit. I want it to look old and worn, and this is the best way to go about doing it. If you over distress it like I did, go right back in with your paint and just lightly dry brush it on. That way you don't have to sand it again like me. Now I have this beautiful mulberry paper that I picked up on Etsy. They were kind enough to send it extra, which I'll be saving for a future giveaway when I reach 5,000 subscribers. So stay tuned for that. To figure out where I'm going to tear it, I'm going to use my nails and just press it against the sides. And guys, I'm trying to figure out how to work with these nails. I got them done. They're a little too long. I don't typically wear any nails, but this was a nice treat after a crazy couple of weeks. But back to our project, I'm going to spritz it and then just gently tear away the sides. And this is going to give it a more organic, soft look, and it's really going to help later when we go in and do some blending. I'm going to use my liquid patina and my fan brush and just add that to the center over that white paint, and then set my beautiful lady right down into that patina, and then use my fan brush to help smooth out any bubbles. You might notice a lump there to the left, but that's actually just part of the paper. It's those natural fibers that are in mulberry paper. And the thing about this type of paper is there's little white fibers running through it, and you do want to be a little careful with those. They're actually pretty strong. So if you pull on them, they can end up tearing more than you want and distort your image. I've had that happen before, so just take your time here, and if needed, you can always go in with a pair of scissors and just trim them back. You could also use a piece of cling wrap to smooth out your bubbles. This is just how I like to do it. And once I get my image on, I'm going to bring that liquid patina around my frame, and that's also going to seal everything in and prepare my surface for a few transfers that I'm going to add to this. Now onto my transfers. I'm using the Emily Claire transfer booklet from IOD's 2026 spring release, and this one is just so soft and beautiful, filled with delicate florals. You won't see it here, but it also has the sweetest little kitties and butterflies tucked right into the designs. It really has like a dreamy, romantic feel, and it also works well with that shabby chic style. I just think it's so pretty and definitely one of my favorites. Now I'm using some vintage antiquing paste along the sides of my frame, and I'm also going to use it to gently blend it in around that decoupage paper. I want to cover any of that white that's peeking through where the paint didn't fully cover. Then I'm going to go in here in just a moment with Waverly's Clear Wax, and this is going to help soften everything and do a little more blending. This is also going to seal everything in. And I'm going to go over my paper one more time and then all over the frame just to seal everything in and just bring everything together. Then I took just a paper towel to wipe back the remaining wax. I added antique wax to the back and then wiped that back. And that is it for this one. I just think she turned out absolutely beautiful. And I think there's just something about her. I can't quite place it. I don't know if she's meant to be a servant or just a quiet figure in a story, but she feels like she has a story to tell. And I love that. Let me know what you think. All right, this video is part of our monthly What Would You Make challenge, and it's hosted by Brenda from Rustic and Lace and Christine from Divine Designs. And this month's guest host is the lovely Kathy Joe. Make sure to check out our playlist. I'll have everything linked down below so you can see all the amazing inspiration. All right, on to project number 2. Don't blink because you might miss this one. I thrifted this wooden paddle and I already had it painted with the color Buttercream by Paint Couture. This is also by IOD Spring Release. This one is called By Any Other Name. And I'm starting with these beautiful pink roses, added this butterfly, and I know everyone knows how to use a transfer by now. They've been out for years. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip over some stuff. This is from Emily Claire's booklet that we used earlier. And I'm choosing these beautiful florals and I'm going to have this so it drapes down the handle and then around the sides a little bit. And I'm cutting some of it out. I don't want this piece and I'll just save it for later. Off camera, I gave it a light sanding just to soften it up and add some age. Went over it with some clear wax and then added some Van Dyke Brown. I added the clear wax first because I didn't want it to be too dark. And then I wiped it back. To finish it off, I added a chiffon ribbon as the hanger and added a simple bow to that. And that's it for this one. I think it turned out so beautiful. I really love how this piece came together and it only cost me a few dollars. On to our next project. I thrifted this sign and I'm going to use this paint inlay. This is another one from IOD's newest release and I'm just figuring out about how much I'm not going to be able to use in this. I'm not going to cut it off because I can get up to 3 uses with this inlay. So as you can see, I'm going in with some paint and just painting the center using the color Simply White. It's this upcycled paint that I get at Hobby Lobby. I also used it in the first project and I'm going to give it a total of 3 coats, letting them dry in between the first 2. I just want to make sure that I have really good coverage here, especially to cover up any of those words underneath. I didn't show me painting the second and the third, but this is our third coat and this is where we're going to go in with our paint inlay. So while the paint's still wet, I'm giving my inlay a spritz of water. I want to make sure that it's completely wet. I also did add water to my paint. I think I cut that part out, but I'm going to set my inlay right into that wet paint. And you do have a little leeway here. If you need to lift it back up, just make sure that you work kind of quickly. A lot of people get stressed out with these. I did my first few, but now I got the hang of it, and they each time they come out differently. And so I'm using a damp rag, gently pressing that inlay into the wet paint. And I want to make sure that I have good contact here with between the inlay and my wet paint. And I'm also working it right up to the edge of the frame, and I'm just using my nail to make sure that it's nice and snug to that edge. And then I'll just fold that excess back, just kind of have it curl a little bit so it doesn't stick to the inlay. But I take time with this. I add water and I push the inlay. I've really learned to take my time on this step and just add water and use my damp rag, go back in a few times. Then I just set it aside, let it dry. It took about 4 hours. You could use your embossing gun to speed it up. I don't prefer to do that. Just my preference, but I know a lot of fabulous creators that do, and they turn out beautiful. It just doesn't work for me, and that's okay. But I set it aside, let it dry. Once it's dry, you'll be able to tell because it takes on a more opaque look. And at that point, I'm going to spritz it with water again. Just make sure that it's nice and damp. Then I'll take my damp rag and gently press the inlay back into the surface. And even though the paint is dry, this step will help reactivate it just enough uh, so that image transfers over beautifully. And then I'll wait about another 30 seconds, maybe a little bit longer, depending on your inlay. And I'll start to slowly pull it back and reveal that beautiful image underneath. And this is my favorite part. Oh, it's just so satisfying. If this video encourages you to try an inlay, don't be afraid. Just take your time with it. When you're pulling your inlay back, if you have any resistance at all, just stop, add a little bit of water, and gently dab and press the inlay back down before continuing. That little step can make all the difference. I didn't have any issues with this one, and honestly, I can't believe that I was so afraid to work with inlays for as long as I was, because now they're one of my favorite things to use. And the really fun part is every time you use one, you'll get a slightly different result. A lot of creators actually love that. It gives you that authentically aged look where it's not perfect, and that's the part that adds the charm, right? Just keep in mind you can usually reuse these inlays up to about 3 times. Sometimes a bit of the paint can transfer over onto your inlay when you pull it back. I didn't have any issues, but if it does, you can always switch things up and use something like liquid patina or extreme garden satin or even a polyacrylic. For this piece, I really wanted my lady and gentleman to stand out a bit more, so I'm going in with a little ballet slipper chalk paint by Waverly, adding some water and just lightly going over her dress. I don't want this to be bold. I'm going more for a soft watercolor look. And then I'll take a little bit of Cashew chalk paint by Waverly and adding water to that and bringing that into her corset. I actually got this idea from Erin at the Provincial Farmhouse. This isn't something that I came up with myself, but I just loved the effect that she created and I wanted to recreate it myself. Then I'm going to add a little bit of green to my man's coat. I believe this is the color Celery. And then added the color Dusk to his pants and a little bit of black to his hat. Then I added a bit of white to the lamb. And I'm also going to add some soft touches of gold here and there. It's called Bronze Metallic Paint by Paint Couture, and it's subtle, and unfortunately it's a little hard to see on camera, but it does add a touch of warmth. And I'm also going to bring some green to the trees, and as I said, I don't want anything to be too bold, just a soft wash of color to give it a bit of life. To finish it off, I'm adding Van Dyke Brown Antique Glaze to the frame and light brown sugar glaze to the scalloped decal. Oh, geez. Scallop detail, and then Van Dyke Brown again to the inner part of the frame. And I'm just taking a damp rag to wipe some of it back. And off camera, I sealed everything in with Rust-Oleum's clear spray sealer. And that is it for this one. Guys, I absolutely love how this one turned out, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I just wish you could see it a little more clearly. For my fourth and final DIY, I have this box that I thrifted at Goodwill. I wiped it down good. I'm going to paint it the color Bunker Hill Blue by Dixie Belle. It's such a rich, beautiful blue. I love it. It's a little old, so I added some water to kind of help spread it out there. And then I'm going to make sure to get the inside as well. Then I'm going to add some transfers. I'm using this one, I think it's called Traditional Pots, and I'll place these on each side. Just make sure you burnish it with your vellum sheet. I forgot to mention that in the other projects. And then these florals, I think they're from Saint-Quen. This is from IOD's new release. I'm going to zoom right through me adding these transfers because we've already established placing them by now. I just think these are so pretty. IOD's new release is just insane. I'm going to seal everything in with some Extreme Garden Satin by Paint Couture. Then I'm going to go over everything with some clear wax by Sweet Pickins, and then add my antiquing paste. And that clear wax is there so I can really get that antiquing paste moved around. And then I'm going to add handles to each side. And that's it for this box. It was so easy, and I just think it came out so beautiful. What do you think? I'd love to know what you think of these projects today. And those who have been with me for a while, you know I love chatting it up in the comment section. And if you're new, I'd love for you to join too. If you enjoyed today's video, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never miss a video from me. And don't forget to check out the playlist. I'll have everything linked down below. As always, thank you for spending time with me today. Until the next one, bye.